Alaska experience.
And we're alive! There we go. So, now that we are approaching Lag BaOmer, which I believe is tomorrow night, right?
Tomorrow night is the holy day of Lag BaOmer.
Right.
As you can tell, I don't know if you realized this before, but this is a very typical sounding podcast based on a frum person. Frum people, I feel like, all start the podcast the same way.
No, well, at the end of the day, you can't escape what you are. You are what you are, and there are cliches for a reason. All right, let's just say all Irishmen probably start their songs a certain way.
And we're on then!
Yeah, I'm sure everyone kind of has their sort of their niche, and every single white guy in every frat party is going to be like, yo, bro, man. Every stereotype has its thing for a reason. You know what I'm saying? It's not like these things are stereotypes because they're real. So back to what we're saying. Ahavat Yisrael, regardless of if Lag BaOmer is coming around, it's a very important topic.
Yeah.
And we could also interweave it with the idea of being kind to your fellow man, not just your fellow Jew. In general, being kind to people can be very difficult at times, especially when you're having a bad day. Mm-hmm. And let's just say you work far away and you've got to take the train, and some old lady is taking too long to move. You just want to be like, come on, ma'am,
out of my way.
Or somebody on the train is just really annoying, and you just want to give them a dirty look. And it's those moments when you're very weak, not necessarily you're not in despair, but you're kind of in these moments where it's very easy for you to say something not nice. Those are the moments that really define people, when they're in their more sensitive modes. That's what really shows upon their character. Have you ever been through that sort of
on the train, every single time I go on the train, but that's just because the train brings out not necessarily the best in me.
But I'm not just talking about a train. I'm talking about when there's certain parts of the day or certain parts of your life where you're more, I would say, I don't know about vulnerable, but you're more yourself. You're not putting on any show for anybody, and that's what really shows your true colors. When do you find that? I mean, have you found that in your life?
Well, it makes sense that people are like that at the end of the day.
Mm-hmm.
And it makes sense people would feel that way when they're at a ball game.
Depends.
And they had like 2 beers already.
Right. So that's more drunk. I don't know if that's really is the right real person, because that's, first of all, they're at a game. They're all excited. I don't know if I would really define that as the real person. Being drunk is not the real person. People say, oh, when you're drunk, that's the real you. I'm sorry, but no, it's not the real you, because you're under the influence. Maybe there's parts of you that are being unlocked, but the real you is the you with restraint. That's the real you. People be like, oh, it's the real you is when you drink and all the trash comes out. Nope. The real you is when you want to say something shitty like that. Okay, but you don't. That's the real you. That's the real Ahavat Yisrael. When someone someone's really annoying. You could be like Fabranian, and this guy just doesn't stop cheppering. What's the word in English? I say chepper in when it comes to when you go to a comedy club. What would you call it?
Heckler.
Heckler, exactly. I guess in Yiddish, cheppering, but. You have these hecklers that heckle the rabbi, the Fabranger, the people around, and they don't stop. Sometimes you just want to give him your peace of mind. Sometimes you just explain it to him.
Well, it's also cool because the thing of Ahavat Yisrael, like the Tzemach Tzedek says, is that when we think to ourselves like, oh, wow, I really want to inspire my soul, what do we think of? Or when we say like my soul, or we say a Jew's soul, what do we think of? We think about our individual soul. But that's not really the proper, like, that's not the first thing to think about. The first thing and the main thing to think about is that there's only one soul. It's one collective soul of all of the Yidden. We're all and we're all made up of one soul. We're a lot of parts, but you can't say, like, I'm just gonna have one piece of rice today. Like, I mean, you're not really gonna get filled up that way. Like, it's just not really a vibe to eat dinner off of that. So, like, just whenever we look at someone else, we're just it's like looking, like, I mean, it sounds weird to, like, compare it, but, like, we say, like, our wife is like, we look at our wife and we see the second part of
Did you say
our
life
soul.
or wife?
Wife. When we look at our wife, we're like, oh, we're one soul. She's the other part of my soul, and then whatever.
Well,
that thought process continues.
I would say it's a
from
bit
there.
easier to say that when you're married. It's a little bit harder to really feel
Understand that concept.
Yeah, I personally, it's a nice concept to say we're all one and everything. We're one soul, the Jewish nation. But at the end of the day, that's a lot more difficult. So
Whatever. Think of it, let's say, as a soccer team. When you look at another teammate and you're all playing the game, you all have one ball, you're all playing the game, you all have different positions, but, like, we're one team trying to get the goal.
It's a little bit easier when you make it less Jewish and make it more human. To me, it makes it a little bit more easier to understand because you realize we're all on God's green earth and we're all, have our struggles and we all have a mind and we all have a face and we all have families to feed. That's a little easier to comprehend because it's very much that I could see as one thing.
Yeah, I like that.
Especially nowadays, I feel it, especially with the idea of spreading Shev Mitzvahs, B'nai Nayach, 7 Noahide laws. For me, Ahavat Yisrael, it's obviously you need to be nice to your fellow Jew, but it's really everybody. But definitely start off with your neighbor who's probably Jewish. People who you really interact with most of the time are probably going to be Jews. But it also has to do with the janitor who works in your school or the non-Jewish guy who's fixing something in your building. A lot of times it's easy to just be like, yeah, he's just a janitor, he doesn't have any feelings. He's not um, he's not a human. You see him as just the cleaner. But think about it. He probably has a family as well, even if he's not married. He has a mother, he has a father, whether they're alive or not. He's he has he needs to eat food. He needs to pay his bills. He's not just this thing that just cleans up. He's an actual. He has a feelings himself. You know. You understand what I'm saying?
David. I think this stuff should also be like, and I'm mentioning it actually on this podcast.
Yeah.
Because I think it's part of it, but, like, instead of, it should be like a short thing that you just put out, and it should be like on WhatsApp, it should be on Instagram, it should just be out, and it should be like a word that just everyone hears. Because honestly, it's crazy. Like,
oh, but do you agree with me?
Yeah, 100%. My wife's like asking me like, "Oh, do you like what? Like, when are you hanging out with young people? Like, cause like I'm usually saying over that, like, I just saw this guy or I was just learning with this guy, and these guys are all over like 70, and like."
You're saying you have a lot of chavrusas with older guys?
Like older Chassidim guys, and
people who are mentoring you, but not so much that you're mentoring them.
Yeah, no, and it's not even a thing of mentoring. It's just that, like, I feel like they're just way more normal. Like, they just make eye contact with me. Like, dude, I'm sitting right beside you. Like, why would...
Well, what are you trying to say?
They just have a lot of Ahavat Yisrael. Like, just like what you're saying about a janitor. Like, they just look at you as a human. Like, I feel like these days...
Well, I'm not quite sure how they look at me. That's a little bit difficult because I don't really know what it's like to be a janitor. But I do know what it's like to look at somebody and see them as subhuman, because as a kid, when you have a janitor in school, you don't think about them as a person. When you're going on the bus, you're on the I mean, a lot of times you just
it's crazy. It becomes like a perfunctionary thing.
I would say
they become like woodwork.
I would say crazy. Since I've moved to New York, what was it? However many years ago it was. Even though there's thousands
Did you grow up here?
No, I did not grow up here. Where I grew up, we'll get to that some other time. But I remember walking through different parts of, I don't know if it was Manhattan, wherever it was, and I see thousands of people, and it's so easy to just see them as just tons and tons of things. But recently, when I see these people, I just imagine like each one of these people has his own life, has his own problems. It's amazing how you could see that. And
Oh,
sometimes I don't see it when I'm in a small place and I see random people in the store. You don't really think about the fact that they have their own things. But for some reason, when I came to New York and I saw hundreds of people, you're on the train and stuff, it's just interesting how I see them, you know, I put myself in their shoes and just kind of feel it. Now, obviously, we got to bring it back to Ahavat Yisrael because that's really because at the end of the day, you're supposed to feed the poor of your town, meaning you're supposed to
do
really
that with
the closest people to you, which is your Jewish brothers, your siblings, that's the main thing, which can be at times very difficult because you're with them a lot more. They have certain accents or personality traits that really bother you because it's sometimes it can be easier to be nicer to strangers because you don't see them very often. You're going to say a nice word to them. You're never going to see them again. It's very easy. I personally find it difficult to say good morning to somebody I know I'm going to see every morning because I feel like if I say it once, I'm going to have to say it to them every single morning. So I just don't say it, which is it's another point. It's difficult to really be genuine and nice to people you will see every single day or in shul on Shabbos. That's where it really gets difficult. You know what I'm saying?
wow, man. I feel like that's like a common. I feel like that's commonplace. I feel like everyone just sort of is in that zone. Yeah.
They say that uh, familiarity, if I say that word right, breeds resentment, which a lot of times in marriage, not that I know anything too much about marriage, but from what I've heard a little bit, if there's no sort of separation and stuff, it can cause resentment. But
And
bringing
like, yeah, it's like independence, right? Like you see someone else as an independent person, as opposed to like a tool of yours. Like a clerk in a store is technically a tool of yours for you to uh, meet your end goal, which is to get that Danish and walk out. And then the door is a tool of yours in order so that you could get out and it could keep you warm when you're inside the store. Then the person that's giving you a ride home is like the car and the tire and the rubber
well,
on it. Like everything is just like right. But if you flip things around, like say what you're saying, which is that like you're you're in a lot of other people's worlds. Like you're technically the tool of other people, right? So like when I'm at the cash register, I'm thinking to myself instead, wow, I'm the tool of this person. Like this person needs me as a customer in order for them to make business. So I'm giving them business right now. That's pretty
yeah, but
cool. I'm like benefiting them.
pulling it back a little bit, I would say it's very difficult to be nice to people you see a lot of the times because you get used to just kind of being yeah whatever what's up, and especially when it's your siblings, whatever people you really see a lot. It's sometimes you can just be really cool with them, like oh yeah you're in my clique, it's so nice, which is great. But there are certain times where there are certain people that just can get in your nerves because you see them all the time. What would you say about the idea of saying good morning to somebody who you see every morning? Because you have it happens to be that people leave their house usually around the same time every single day, and you do too. So you probably you know cross paths every day at the same time. What would you say about someone like me who doesn't want to have to deal with that idea of like if I say good morning once, if I don't say it tomorrow, they're gonna be like, what happened today? What would you say about that?
Yeah, there's just this lack of talking these days.
No, I don't.
I
That's
don't.
the
I really think that that's the root of things. Like, because you only want to say good morning. You don't want to say anything else.
no. I don't.
Because
I
if
don't
you
think necessarily they would want to talk to you. I
that's
just
also another thing, right? That's part of it. You think
no, but
because
I
that
think it's the idea of like
you think people don't want to talk to you because you think people are just like you, that they
no, no,
also
no, no. That's
feel
not how I'm. What I'm saying. What I'm saying is that I would like to say good morning to them, kind of like if I see someone on Messiah and I put tefillin on him once in a blue moon. is that better that he does that, or that he never puts in tefillin because he never does? Or see, you see what I'm getting at? Where if I say good morning at least once in a while, at least I'm saying it sometimes, and maybe I am going to risk the fact that they may say to me, "Why don't you say good morning to me today?" And then I can tell them,
But why
well,
didn't you say good morning to them today?
because it's difficult.
Why
But I
is it
want to say it
difficult?
sometimes. So it's like a tefillin. Should I just put tefillin on this guy? Should I never put tefillin on him because he's not going to be able to do it every single day? It's difficult.
Why is it difficult?
Try to say good morning to people every single day. Sometimes it's just weird. Sometimes you're feeling like I want to say good morning to this person, and some days it's just like I don't want to say good morning. Where do you see that?
Yeah,
If you don't have an answer, that's fine.
I don't. No, I have an answer, but I don't want to be too harsh on you. Like, I think it's very crazy that humans in this 21st century, for whatever reason, could be embarrassment, could be irkiness, it could be for a lot of different things. They're not like looking forward to connect with another person.
I also feel like it's all or nothing thinking, meaning that if I can't say it every morning, I probably shouldn't say it at all.
Hey, you know what else? You're not to blame because of the fact that exactly what you just said right now. Conversations are hella boring, right? Like I overhear things or I see people talking to each other and I'm like, how are you doing this for more than 30 seconds and not smashing your head against the wall?
What are they talking about?
Like just like okay, like like Twitter's gonna be bought.
Right, these things, right?
Or like or just like I don't know, like I honestly don't know, like the party that we're gonna go to or that we were in. I don't know, like I just like
No, but at the end of the day,
yeah, and then I'm totally on
really,
your side. I don't want to say good morning ever to that person.
Right, but
if I'm not gonna have a fun conversation. On the other hand, I could just say good morning and be like, dude, like I really like your shoes, like, and then just talk about.
But there's also the feeling of like, what if they don't reciprocate the good morning and they kind of
they're like not.
Then you feel like trash.
Yeah, they're not gonna reciprocate for different reasons, but just in general, if you are giving out, you're not talking about yourself. You're not overly talking about them. You're talking about a third person thing, and it's somewhat interesting.
Okay, so we're running out of time here, so just to end off here, I would say at the end of the day is you should forget about your fear of what they may say. Oh my gosh, maybe I do it some days, maybe I don't, and just do Ahavat Yisrael. Just be nice to somebody, regardless of what you may get back. Maybe they will give you a scowl on their face. Maybe they will ignore you. Maybe they will tell you, "Why didn't you say good morning to me yesterday? Why are you not saying it to me if you said it? Said it yesterday." You just forget about that stuff and just do the best you can. Just like Mifsayim. Just because this guy's only putting tefillin on today and he's probably not going to put it on for another couple of months doesn't mean you shouldn't put it on now. That's what we should take out of this.
Amen.